Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with Moxie Present. Now, really quickly, I do have everybody on mute. So if you do have any questions, comments, or anything that you'd like to ask us about, maybe I've gone a little too fast and you want us to repeat something, go ahead and put that in the chat box that you see over on the right-hand side, and we'll get to it when we get to the Q&A section at the very end. Okay, a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at today is we're going to take an overview of Present. So what is it and what are the cool things that you can do with it? We're also going to take a presentation walkthrough. So it's great that we can create these presentations, but we also want to see what those presentations look like when we send them to our clients. So once they've gone away, once they're already there, what do they look like? And then, of course, we're going to take a look at the 5 simple steps in creating a presentation. It's really that simple to make one of these beautiful looking digital CMA presentations. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, so the first question is, what is Moxie Present? Now, we like to say it's so much more than just a CMA, and that's because it is. You can make great-looking buyer and seller CMA presentations, but you can create any type of presentation that you can think of. If you want to have an open house presentation at your open house so that somebody can see all the best parts of your open house, but also some information about things that they may not see just by walking around the listing, like what do the utilities cost, where's the closest supermarket, or any of that other stuff that they would want to know. You can also create an open house invitation. So if you have an open house, we can create a presentation that we can send out on our social media so that people can see it in the digital space and then come to this thing in real life so that they have that digital presentation, see all the best parts of your open house, and then attend because, hey, that looks really cool. We should come in and see it. You can also do things like create presentations just about your expertise. So if you want to create a presentation because you're a specialist in a specific area and you want to create a neighborhood tour that says this is why you want to use my expertise when you're buying a house in this area, we can create one of those. You can also have a sphere marketing presentation. So all of those people that are in your sphere of influence, we can create a presentation for them and say this is why we would want to use my expertise. You can also do pre-listing packets. So if we're trying to win somebody's business and set that bar really high, show them you're willing to go that extra mile and that you have the best tools at your disposal, we could create that packet for them so that we can show them the type of things that they can expect when they use your business. Now, the last thing in there is the thank you video, and I love that one. Now, that's not a type of presentation. It's something you can add in, but it's so easy to do. And it's something where you can just click record on either your computer or your phone and talk to your client, whoever they are. If you just had a meeting or if you have an upcoming meeting, something that says, hey, Bill and Sally, it's great that we met today. I'm looking forward to our meeting on Thursday. Everything that we talked about is in the pages below, and my contact information is on that last page. Really quick, maybe a minute of your time, and then you stop the recording. That can go in your presentation, and it's faster than writing an email. So you've gone that extra step of showing them your face, but you can also then add that into your presentation in just a few seconds. We also have buyer tours, and these are so cool. This is actually pretty new, and that is you can, when you go on a tour with one of your clients, you get in the car and you visit these places that they could potentially buy. You can give them a presentation that will allow them to give you feedback on each of those listings. So you can get what do they think about it. They can do star ratings and notes about that listing so that you know what did they like, what did they not like. If we're going to get in the car again and go to new listings, now I have an idea of what they like, what they want, and I can get that real-time feedback about all of those listings. So which one did they rate the highest? Okay, well, let's talk about possibly buying that listing. It also has a connection to Google Maps so that you can get directions to each one of those listings. So when they put in that starting location, whether it be their home or their work, it'll find where that new listing is and give them the directions of how to get there. You can also get that feedback from each one of those. It does email it to you, but you can also go back into that presentation. So let's say you're going with a couple and they are each going to log in and give you their thoughts on each one of those listings. Well, you can differentiate who those people are. So you know which listings does each person like and which listings do they both like. Now, the next question is why? Why would we want to use a digital presentation like this? And the answer is simple. That's that the largest group of home buyers are now millennials. In fact, about 62% of the people that are buying homes nowadays are in that millennial and Gen X age group. So keep that in mind as we go through some of this digital slide creation, because those groups are going to like seeing things in the digital space before they go and do something in real life. These are the generations that are going to see something on Facebook and take that seriously versus walking up to a for sale sign and getting a flyer. So keep that in mind as we talk about these digital presentations and creating those different slides and pages that you can make that have now this largest home buyer group in mind. But about 57% of the people selling homes nowadays are in that baby boomer and silent generation. Now, they're also going to like those digital presentations, but the point is that you have the tools to win those listings. Now, how can we use this to exceed our client expectations? Well, there's a couple different ways that we can do that, and one is live MLS data. In fact, we've talked to a number of agents where they've said, I've made the beautiful CMA presentation, we've gone to their house, we leave it on the coffee table, and then they don't look at it for 3 months, 6 months, or maybe a year, and then they pick it up, and by the time they actually do, all of that information is now outdated. So now we have a way of giving them that live MLS data. So let's say I send that presentation, and it does take them 3 months to actually get around to looking at it, clicking on the link. Well, every time they click on that link, it's going to have the MLS data from that exact minute. It goes out, that presentation hits the MLS every single time you open it. In fact, some of our clients use this to show their clients how quickly the market's moving. So we'll make what's called a market snapshot and say, hey, if you're considering buying or selling, this is what the market is doing right now. So we can show them, pick all of these listings in a specific area and say, hey, click on this today, click on it next week, click on it the week after, and every week for the next 6 weeks. And take a look at how fast these listings are turning over. You can also do things like on-the-fly editing. So if you're showing somebody a presentation like the picture shows there, that you're going through those listings with them. If it's important that they have a specific listing in their presentation, you can actually do on-the-fly editing. So anything you want to change about your presentation, you can do it in real time, hit refresh, and it will be updated. So let's say they did say, hey, my neighbor's house, it's right across the street, it was just on the market, why isn't it in your presentation? And we know it's because there's an extra 1,000 square feet of pool and a view. But if it's that important that they have it in there, we can add it in on the fly and then refresh it, and we have it in our presentation so that when we do email it to them and they check it out at home, they have that customized presentation that they helped create that they'll appreciate even more, because those things that they wanted in that presentation are now in there that we added in while they were sitting there. It's also very simple to share. We've mentioned a few of them already, but you can share this. You can email it to your person. You can text it to your person. You can share it on social media. You can print it out if you still like that binder version of it, having that physical copy of your presentation. Yeah, you can print it out and have this beautiful looking CMA presentation. So any way that you want to share this, any way that whatever your client is, who they are, how they like seeing their presentations, you can print it out and have that presentation to them and whatever is most comfortable for them. And this last thing is so cool, the agent commentary and guidance. So we went through, we picked listings, we picked our comps carefully, right? We know which comps are in the area. We went on our MLS, we did the search, we searched in present on our search screen, we curated that list. Now I want to say why. Why did I pick those listings? So you can add your agent commentary to each one of those. Okay, so the next couple of slides that we're going to talk about are the really rich kinds of data that you can add into your presentations. So one is video, and this stat blew my mind, is that's 3/4 of all content today is consumed as video. I mean, think about that. Out of all the things that we see, whether it be on our phone, our TV, our magazines, wherever you get information, content, 3/4 of it is now video. So that means that this is such a powerful tool that we have at our disposal. And what's great about this is you don't necessarily have to create that video. So let's say we are targeting one of those millennials. We are creating a pre-listing packet. We want to let them know what's coming up, but they don't really know anything about real estate yet. They're pretty new to it. So we can get a Real Estate 101 video that we found on YouTube. There's literally millions of them out there. But if you find one that works for your market, that you're comfortable with, you think it'll speak to your client, let's go ahead and grab that video and we'll add it into our presentation. Now, we're not claiming this video. You can still have it. It gives all the credit to the person that did create that video, but now they have that information. Your client has this information that shows that you're willing to go that extra mile to give them that information, and that is huge in our market today. And it doesn't take that long. It's actually so simple to add video into your presentation. It takes just a couple seconds if we've already found it. We can also add in things like contact forms. So if we have, let's say, an open house presentation and we want to get good data, we want to get that good information, because a lot of people, when they write on that sign-up sheet, let's say we have one at our open house, a lot of times you can't read the handwriting, or let's say somebody just avoids it altogether. Well, I can add in a contact form into my presentation so I get that good information. So I can add in their name, email, do you have any questions? Do you have an agent? Are you looking in real estate? So all of these questions that I would want to know for somebody visiting my open house. So now I get that really good information from each one of those. And from those people. So now whether it is an open house presentation or let's say it's a sphere marketing presentation that I put out on social media, I can have this call to action to give them something to do. Send me a message. I just want to talk to you about it. Whether it's are you ready to buy or sell, or are you just curious about the market. But now this gives me that avenue of getting people into my sphere of influence and generating that new business. The last thing is web pages. Now, the internet is a very big place, and it's easy to send somebody links, but in your presentation, you can have live interactive web pages. So whether that's something on your agent website, on your brokerage website, or if it's just something helpful like the walk score that we see on the screen. If you buy or sell real estate in major cities, this is such a helpful tool because it has the ratings, the walk scores, the restaurants, any of those other good things that we would want to know about a neighborhood, we can find it on the walk score. So I can put that in my presentation, and it's an interactive web page, which means I can click on all of those buttons, but it doesn't take me out of the presentation. It doesn't open up a new window. It doesn't go somewhere else. It shows it to me in my presentation, because once they leave, once let's say it does open up another window, there's no guarantee that they're going to go back. I don't know that they're going to go back to my presentation, but since it's live in my presentation, since this web page is there inside my presentation, once they're done with this page, they can just continue scrolling and see the rest of those pages that I've created for them. All right, so what's next? Well, we're going to go over the 5 simple steps in creating your presentation, and the first 4 of which are things that we do in our business every single day. So 1 is defining your subject property. 2, searching for comparables. 3, sorting and editing your comparables. And 4 is writing your estimate. Now, we all know how to do that. That is very simple to do, but we've created a really simple way to add those into your digital presentations. And 5 is generating your presentation, which is ordering the pages, adding in your own custom pages, or adding in some marketing pages that your brokerage has created for you. But what's great about that last step is that if you have a presentation that you like the way it looks, you like the way all of the pages are ordered and the different pages that are in there, we can save that as a template so that in the future, I'm not going to have to go back and do those things again. They'll already be in that order. So now, when we go to make our next presentation, I don't actually have to go in and do any of those things. They'll already be done. I can just do those first 4 steps and have a great looking presentation. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into present. So what we see here is our present dashboard. Now, these are all of the presentations that we've already created. So what we're going to do now is take a look at an actual presentation. What does this presentation look like when our clients open it up? So let's go to the Mr. and Mrs. Seller. There we go. So we're just going to click on it. And the first thing that you're going to notice is that your presentation is being created. You see that creation wheel there. That means that your presentation just hit the MLS. That's what it was doing. It was going out, it was getting that information from the MLS, and it was bringing it back here. So you can see now this presentation, as we go through it, the information on this presentation is from right now. So the first page is our cover page. I can see my agent photo there, a little bit of branding, the listing photo in the back there, and of course the address. And I also have some custom pages in here. Now, I made this page, but we'll be able to see that we can create this kind of stuff. And when you have videos in your presentation here, we can actually click on it, and it's going to play that video just like it would play on YouTube. Now, the first page in here is our property summary. So we can see we have all that property information over on the right-hand side here. And then the agent remarks underneath. I also have bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and the lot size. So a lot of great information about your property summary. Now, I bring this up because it is that first step in creating your presentation. So the more information we have on this first page, the more robust the beginning of our presentation is going to look. And you also have agent remarks. Now, this is a good place to put those seller remarks that we put on the MLS. Or if this is for one specific person, or let's say we're targeting our social sphere of influence, we're going to put this on Facebook, this presentation, and we want people to know about our expertise. This might be a good place to put in a note for anybody that's going into this presentation about contacting you, about what your expertise is, about what the market's doing. So anything that you wanted to add into your agent remarks here, we can, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just those MLS remarks. Next is our listing location map, and you're going to hear me say this a few times in the presentation here, but everything in your presentation is completely interactive. So I can move this map around, I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can see where these listings are on the map here. And let's say this is a buyer presentation and somebody's really interested in or they're not really interested in comp number 1 or 2, but they really like comp number 3. I don't have to create a whole new presentation for that comparable, because if I click on it, it's going to bring up all of that information from the MLS. So I can see where it is on the map, the property information, the entire photo gallery in here. And there's the agent comments on the bottom. And this is where we get to add in our agent commentary. So let's say this listing was on their list. We can add in here, hey, this was on your list of places to check out, but there's a prison next door and a toxic waste dump in the basement. So we might want to reconsider this. So we can add in whatever comments we like about this listing to show our client that we're willing to go that extra mile. We also have our Pinterest card view here. This is your listing overview page, which has the listing photo. It's got a little information about each one of these, and it's just a little bit more easily digestible. Then we have our side-by-side comparisons, and this is so cool because it has all of that information about each one of these listings from the MLS. So I can actually see a ton of really cool information about all of these different pages here. And of course there's the little eyes if there's more information about these. So let's actually scroll back up to the top. But we can scroll through these and the subject property stays locked on the left hand side. So now I can compare that subject property to any one of the listings on my list here. Next is my status comparisons page, and this is where I can see a lot of that same great information, but it is broken out by status, so I can see active, pending, and sold all right next to each other. So if I want to see the list price versus the sold price, and what's the percent difference, just so I can take a look at what the market's doing, I can actually see that here. So I have all these comps that are sold. Here's the list price, here's the sold price, and the percent difference, 99 to 100%. Man, that's actually pretty good. We also have a few data pages for you. So these are, if you have any data geeks out there like me that like seeing this sort of thing, you can actually see that data there. So this is your home averages page, where you can see the home averages for all of those listings. So I can see active, pending, and sold across the top. But like I said, everything in here is completely interactive. So if I wanted to check out just the listings that I can buy, just the active listings. I can see that here, and I can deselect the other two. That way, I can see just the home averages for those active listings. And next, we have two scatter graphs that are going to help you tell your client the story of their listing, right? So the first one is price and size. Now, this is going to help you tell that story that square footage matters, that the higher the square footage, and we can see this nice upwardly trending trend line there, that the more square footage there is, the higher the price is going to be. And we can also see price and days on market, which is going to show me that the longer something stays on the market, the higher we price something, the longer it'll stay on the market. So we can see we have this nice big old one up here, but this is going to show us that that we want to make sure we price our listing right the first time. All right, then we have our estimate comparisons page, and this is so cool because this, I can't tell you how many agents we have told us they have clients that'll come up to them and say, well, Zillow says that I can have this much money, so I want this much money. But we all know that's not how it works. So this takes this sold price of any of those comps that you have and compares it to the Zestimate, the actual sold price versus the Zestimate. So you can show your clients, hey, you know what? Zillow said that you could get or Zillow says that you're going to lowball this by about $50,000 or about $40,000, or this one's above by about $5,000. I've seen them be off by up to $500,000. So we can show them the truth of that information, that a Zestimate is exactly that. It's an estimate. All right, then we have our pricing analysis, and this is your estimate page. So you can have in a single value or a range, and then any comments that you have about the pricing of this listing. So if we want to say why we priced it this way, we can add that in here. And you also have some coaching stats, which this is going to be two different ways that we can get some coaching information about why we priced the listing this way. But the average price per sold comp, and then the average dollar per square footage multiplied by the square footage of the subject property. So we have two different numbers that will help us come up with that number. And the last page here is your bio page, your agent bio page. So we can have our agent photo, we can have our bio information, we can have some testimonials, and then of course our contact information here. So I've got my phone number, email address, website, all of that good stuff there. And again, since this is interactive, let's say I post this on social media, they can just click on one of those and it'll call me or email me directly from the presentation. Okay, so now we've seen the presentation. We've seen why we want to make this presentation. Now let's go through the steps in actually creating one. So if we're going to create a brand new presentation, we're going to select the Create New button over on the right-hand side. There it is, the bright blue Create New. And it's going to ask you the first of three questions. And the first is, what type of presentation is this? What are we making? So we can create a buyer presentation, a seller presentation, a buyer tour, or a non-listing presentation. So we've talked about those first three, but the non-listing is if we're making something that has nothing to do with a CMA. So let's say we're making a monthly newsletter or something that's just going to convey information, but it doesn't have any of that listing data in there, that doesn't have any of those listing pages. This is a presentation that will skip all of those steps. So instead of putting you through the 5 simple steps, it's just going to have one. It's going to let us create custom pages. So that's what that presentation is. So we're going to select Seller here and continue. Now, next it's going to ask us to pick a template, and this is where we can say what is the presentation going to look like once we get to the end, once we put all the information inside of it. So I can select no template if I want to start from scratch, meaning I'm going to put all the pages in there myself. But I'd suggest using a template because that's going to save you a lot of time. So we have our default seller in here, and you can click on the pages to see what's in here, but it has the 13 report pages that we just took a look at, plus a little bit of marketing information from the brokerage. Or if you've created any templates, they'll be on the bottom under My Templates. So if I want to use my report pages, my own custom pages, and let's say I wanted to use that default seller, but I want to add in my own stuff, I can do that and then save my own templates so that now this is the presentation that I want. And the last step is the title and listing source. So if you are subscribed to multiple MLSs, you can pick which MLS this presentation is going to pull from. So there it is, the MRED and the GNIAR. Perfect. Okay, so now we can pick one of those. We'll select X, we'll select Create, and then it will start our presentation. Now, remember I said that we can create a presentation in 5 simple steps? Well, here they are across the top. So defining your subject property, searching for comparables, sorting and editing those comparables, writing your estimate, and then of course your Pages tab where we can create our presentation. So first is our subject property. So here it is, our subject property, and this is where we can add in any of that location information. The subject property information. So anything we want to add in about that subject property, like bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, the lot size, any of the features that are included. And then, of course, on the bottom, we have our remarks and the price and sale information. Now, if this listing is on the MLS or has been on the MLS in the last 2 years, we can put that MLS number here in this box and then select copy. When we select copy, it'll pull all of that information from the MLS. So you're not going to have to add any of that information in a second time. So that's a way that you could save yourself some time. Now, if we're doing a pre-listing packet or something that has to do with a listing that's not on the MLS, or maybe a non-listing presentation, you won't be able to do that. But if it is, it might be able to save you some time. Okay, next is our search screen. So here is where we search for any of those listings, and we can do that in a number of different ways. So when we search using this search box, you can use an address, you can use a city, a neighborhood, a subdivision, a zip code. Any way that you like searching for listings, you can just type it into this search box, and it'll find it for you. So let's say I wanted to use that zip code right there. Let's go ahead and delete everything in there, and I can just paste the zip code, and look, there it is. There's my zip code. So let's go ahead and click on that. And it's going to show me the boundary as well. It puts the boundary around that zip code. This is what it looks like. All right, and my listings are underneath that. So if I wanted to include any of these listings, I could actually just click on it. And you'll see that little green check mark. That means it's in there. There's also a running tally up here. So listings, there's 12 of them currently in my presentation. That's what that number means. So if I click on another one, it goes up to 13. So I can see that these are actually being added into my presentation. Now I can also filter these using the price, bedrooms and bathrooms. Or I have my full filter screen here, so I can select the types of listings that are going in here, the property information, the activities, or the actives, solds, all that other great stuff. So any way that I wanted to filter this, I can. There's also a number of ways to search directly on the map. So I can see schools. If I want to check out schools here, I can look at public and private schools. So if I select public schools on the map, you're going to see a bunch of green dots show up. There they are. So all those green dots, those are schools. So if I want to check out the listings that are around this elementary school, it's important that they get into that elementary school. So we can either see the district boundaries or the school boundaries. Let's go ahead and click on school boundaries, and it'll show you that school's boundary. So there we have all the listings that are within that school's boundaries. So we can see that they would be in that school's district. Okay, now we also have up here the MLS numbers. So this is a way for you to search by MLS number. So if you're more comfortable searching on the MLS, you've been doing it for years, that's the way you like to search, it gets really in-depth with your searches. It has like northern facing house or master on the first or any of those other things that gets really specific about your searches. You can still search on the MLS. If you're comfortable doing that, keep doing that. I'm not going to tell you to do it any different. So if you search there, do that. And then once you export that search on the MLS, we get those listings. You can just copy all of those MLS numbers. All at once, it usually gives it in a spreadsheet. You can just copy them all, paste them here in this text box, and then you get just those listings. So this tool is designed to make your life easier. So if you're more comfortable, again, searching on that MLS, please keep doing that and make your life easier. And then we could come over here and just get the listings that we already found using the method we know how. Once we've gone through and curated our list of comps here, we can go to our listings tab. And this is where we can sort and edit those listings. So on the bottom here is our list. So let's scroll up a little bit more. So we can sort this any way we'd like how. And we have two different constraints here. But we have an ever-expanding drop-down menu, so I can go active to sold, price high to low, or I can have a custom sort order. So if I wanted to put these into the order I like, 1943 Northwinds Drive, yeah, it's going to be number 1. So let's go ahead and scroll that up, and we just click and drag it, and it goes all the way to the top. All right, for each one of these listings, we can add adjustments. We can see we've got $5,000 on landscaping here. Let's say this one needs a new roof. So let's say new roof, and that's going to cost us, well, I don't know how much a roof costs. Let's say $5,000. We'll select save, and now it's going to show me the list price, but also the new, the adjusted price as well. So it'll show me that there's an extra $5,000 in there. So they know that's what it's actually going to cost them. We can also edit the remarks, and this is where we can add in our own remarks. So these were the listing details that came from the MLS. Now I can get rid of those if I want, but somebody took the time to write them, so I'm actually just going to tab them down, and I'm going to add in my own remarks on the top here. So anything that I want to say to my client, I can add right there on top. So now when they go in, they click on that listing, it's going to have my comments in there on top of those listing details. All right, so the last thing I'll show you on this page is add custom listing. And so if you have a listing that is not on the MLS, it's a non-listing presentation, or it's a, let's say it's a pocket listing or something that's just not on the MLS, you can add that into your presentation. So if we clicked on this, add custom listing, it'll bring up a page that looks just like your subject property page. And we can fill this out, and then that listing will go into your presentation. It'll get added in just like any one of the other comps. The only difference is that this one won't be connected to the MLS. So any updates that happen with this listing, we'll have to add those in manually. Next, we'll talk about your estimates. So we have our estimate here. Let's go ahead and clear our range first. And we can add in our estimated market value here. So this is our value. Now let's say I want to change this. We saw that this number was actually already in here, and that's because I added it in on the subject property page. There was a place on the bottom for the market value. We put that in so it'll import it over here as well. But let's say I can actually change this wherever I'd like. So if I wanted, instead of $225,000.50, I can just say $225,001. There we go. So I can update that however I'd like, and that'll be on my estimate screen. And I can also create a range. So if I want a 2% range here or a 1% range, I can then click calculate, and it'll calculate that range. So we can see that these two numbers actually did change. So now I have my nice range there. I'll apply that, and I can add in any remarks that I have. Again, my own remarks about why was this priced this way? Why was this listing priced here? We do have an estimated net proceeds sheet as well. So if you wanted to fill this out and say, this is our estimated seller price, along with your costs, fees, payoffs, or anything else that you wanted to show about your listing. So we have our other costs, our custom costs, or any of that good stuff. We can add that in here. Okay, and now we're on our Pages tab, and this is where we get to have some fun with our presentation. And here we can drag and drop our pages around. So let's say that custom page that I created, I'm going to drag that all the way to the bottom. So there we go. So we're going to put that down there. And for each one of these pages, I have an edit button. So if there are any options associated with any of these pages, you can update them here. But speaking of the updates, so let's say I make I get rid of all of this just to show you what it looks like. We'll put it back in a second. But let's say we exit out. That screen in the middle, that's a live preview. So now I can see that that updated in real time. Boom, there it is. So now that that's completely updated, this is what it's going to look like in the presentation itself. Let's go ahead and put all that back. All right, so the next thing that we're going to take a look at is adding in some pages from your pages library. You have a nice library of pages that you can add into your presentation. So on the top of your presentation, it says presentation. There's that little arrow. We'll click on that, and there's a drop-down menu that you see there. And the first item is your page library. There we go. So let's select our page library, and we have a few options here. We've got our report pages. So if you have, let's say, a template that you use that doesn't have all of these pages, we can see net proceeds, that wasn't included. We can go ahead and add that in. So any of those report pages, you can either add in or remove here from this report pages section. I also have my pages. So if you've created any custom pages, they'll be under my pages. Now, by default, when you create a custom page, it'll get added into your presentation by default. But if you want to use that page, so let's say it's a video, your expertise video, you want to add that into your other presentations, you don't have to keep recreating the page. You can just come into my pages and add it in from here. Then we have brokerage pages, and this is where your marketing pages are. So if you want to add in any marketing pages that were from the brokerage that they've created on your behalf, so Luxury Portfolio International, that sounds cool. Let's check that out. I can click on it, see this really cool looking marketing page that now I can add that into my presentation, and I don't actually have to do anything for it. I just have to select add, and boom. Now I have this great looking marketing page in my presentation, and it was that simple. All right, so next we're going to go back to our Pages tab here. So we saw how to add in some custom pages. We can see the net proceeds and the luxury portfolio. They're both here at the top. Now the reason they're at the top is because whenever you add in a page either from your library or let's say you create a custom page, whatever is selected, so the cover page here is selected, that page is going to go underneath it. So if you have a nice long presentation that's 20, 30, 40 pages long, you don't want to have to drag and drop them from the bottom each time. That might be a pain. So we can just highlight where we want to add those, and then it'll add it in underneath that page. So, but these are on the top. I actually want those on the bottom. So let me click and drag that to the bottom. Nice and easy. There we go. And net proceeds, that's going to go under pricing analysis. Cool. Okay, so now that I've added in my custom pages, I've done my options, I've added in some marketing pages, I now want to save this as a template. I want to make sure that this is the presentation that I'm going to be sending out to all of my clients, maybe a little bit different, but for the most part, this is what they're going to get. I'm going to go to the bottom of my list of pages and save as template. There it is. So we're going to select that. And there's only two things I need for a template, and one is a title. So what do you want to call it? So let's call this a new template. And then where is it going to show up? Either all of your presentations or specifically a buyer or seller, buyer tour, or non-listing, or any combination of these. So let's say if I wanted to show up on those three. So we're going to call it new. I can see I've got my two down here already. Now when we select save, that template will be saved. So when you click that create new button in the beginning, you're going to have this template that you can use. You created this presentation. So now moving forward, I don't actually have to go through those steps again. I don't have to go into my library. I don't have to make custom pages. They're already in here. Okay, speaking of custom pages, let's go through how to create your own custom page, something that's really simple. So we're going to select Add Page, and we're going to click on Create New. So now we have two options here. We can build a page, or we can upload a PDF. So if there is a PDF that you include in all of your presentations, you can add that in here. So instead of trying to recreate it in a digital page, which you can do, I would suggest doing that, but you can also upload it here so that you have your PDF in your presentation. But we're going to go to build page, and well, the first thing we'll have to do is select a layout. So if I'm doing something like a video, so we saw that we had a video before, I'm going to usually want my videos to take up the full page. So here we go. So we can see that full page there. We can also see that we have, let's say, a title next to two boxes. So if I'm doing an open house presentation and I want to say the kitchen next to a picture of the kitchen and then a description of the kitchen, I can have that here. Or let's say I wanted to use a photo gallery. I can add in whatever I'd like here. So let's go ahead and select this one and go to Create. Now, in each one of these modules, you're going to see 4 buttons: text, image, video, and more. Now, the 3 most common types of media that get added into these presentations are text, image, and video. So we've made it really easy to add these types of media in. So for text, all we have to do is select text and start typing. That's it. That's as simple as it is. So let's select text. And now I'm actually going to add a little formatting in. So we see we have our little format box here. I'm going to make it nice and big, bold, sure. And I'm going to put it in the middle. So let's call this new page. There it is. So now I have my new page. And that's it. So that's all I need for text, is I can select text and start typing. That's it. It's really that simple. So next is image. So if I select image, this will bring up your present library. So any of those pages that you've already added in, or any of those pictures that you've already added in, they'll already be in here. So if you wanted to put those on another page, they'll be there. Or I can select upload and just grab one from my computer. So I can see, I don't think I have one that I can use in here. Yeah, so I can see that I can grab any one of these pictures. Perfect. Let's use that screenshot. So we've got that nice screenshot of our buyer tour. There it is. So let's go ahead and add that in. So now we have that screenshot. And just to show you what I was talking about, if you select image, that image will now be in there. So now we're going to have 2 images. Boom. Okay, so we've seen text, we've seen image. Let's go ahead and add in a video. Now we can see we've run out of boxes. If I want to add in more stuff, more things to my page here, there's this little plus button on the right-hand side, and that's going to be what that's asking is how much more do you want. So let's select the plus, and it's going to say how many modules do we want, how many boxes. So do we want 1? Do we want 4? So we can have 1, 2, 4. I only want 1. I'm actually going to put in one nice big video here on the bottom. So we'll select OK, and that's it. That's it. We select the plus button, how much do we want, and there it is. So now we're going to select video, and all you need to add in a video is the URL from your favorite video hosting site. So YouTube, Vimeo, or Dailymotion. It's really, really simple. Most of us use YouTube. I happen to have a YouTube video right here. So I've got best places to visit in Indiana. So let's say somebody's relocating and I want to show them around Indiana, USA. So now I'm just going to copy it from the top, the web address, www.youtube.com/blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and just copy that. And we're going to go back to our page and paste it right there. That's it. That's all we need to add in a video. So let's select add, and boom, there it is. And now I have this nice, big, cool-looking video right on the bottom of my page here. And when somebody's in my presentation, they select play, that's going to play just like it would play on YouTube. So you probably can't hear that, but that's super loud in my headphones. There we go. So now they can get this really cool looking video that we put in there. So again, any of those real estate 101 videos, or let's say you wanted to create a walkthrough of a listing. You take your cell phone, you walk through the listing, you show them all the best parts of this listing. We upload it to our YouTube page, which if you have a Gmail account, you've got a YouTube page. It's really that simple. Upload it, and it goes into our presentation. Boom. Okay, so now we select save on the top. Boom. And here we can add in a name. Let's call this new page. We can add in a description. And we'll select save on the bottom. And now this page is saved. So let's go ahead and select the X in the top right-hand corner. And we can see here is our new page. So we've got our title, our 2 images, and then our video on the bottom. There it is. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about is the buttons in the top right-hand corner. So we can see view. So if I want to take a look at my presentation, what am I actually making? I can click on it and I can click web. which is the digital presentation that we saw in the beginning, or the print version. So if I want to see what the PDF of this looks like, there it is. I can also email this presentation out. So if I want to send this to a bunch of people, a group of people, or an individual, I can send it that way. Cancel that out. And then under more, we have a few different options. You can have a quick flyer. So if you need a one-page flyer on the subject property, you can create that here. We can assign this to another agent. So let's say you're part of a team or an admin and you're making this presentation on behalf of somebody else to help them out, make this presentation. You can assign it to that person. Just find them, their first and last name, and then send it over. Now, keep in mind that if you do send this presentation to another person, that it is going to remove it from your dashboard and put it onto theirs. So if you want to keep a copy of it, we'll have to make a duplicate, which you can do on the home page. And then last is adding co-presenters. So if there are multiple people presenting on a presentation, you've got a few people that they have their bio information, their contact information that we want to include. So let's say there's a few people doing the open houses. We'll want to add them in as co-presenters. So their contact and bio pages will get added into your presentation. Whew, okay, what a mouthful. So now, we're going to get started with our Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, about Present, about creating custom pages, or anything that we talked about, go ahead and put that in the chat box that you see on the right-hand side. And Christine and I are going to get started with the Q&A.
Okay, hey Tom, how's it going? Okay, so there's not any questions that I'm seeing yet. Could you also just highlight again where you could see the view web version and the view print version directly from creating the presentation?
Yes, absolutely. So there's that view button on the top. Now those buttons do stay with you, so even if you're on the subject property page, you'll still see all of those buttons there. But we can view that button there, so that view button, and we can see web and we can see print. So if we actually open up that web version, and we can also see the portrait, which let's open one of those as well. So we can see both of those, but you can also email that out. Now, the other way that you can send out your presentation, you can see there's that URL on the top. Your presentation is that URL. That's how we get there. That's the address of it. So you can copy that and then put that on your social media. So if you wanted to copy the URL and put that in a Facebook post or let's say an Instagram post, something on Twitter or an email blast, that's how we would do it. We would just grab that URL from the top and then send it out to whoever we want to see it.
Perfect. And then if we want to jump on over to that print option, just to show them real quick what that looks like. Oh, it's still generating right now, so we'll come back to that. But we do have a question on the graphs. So how can you get the trend line to show or turn off?
Okay, I gotcha. So let's go over to our pages tab here, and we have our options pages. So this is how we would do that. So we have our listing references page and your trend line. So if there are options about any one of these pages, these are where you would find them. So I can get rid of my trend line there. So if I wanted my price and days on market, since I want it to go upward, but I went in and just grabbed a few of those listings. So instead of it being a nice upwardly trending line, we can see it's actually going down. So that's hurting us more than it's helping us. So let's go ahead and get rid of it. We'll select X, and you'll see that it's going to update and remove that trend line. Boom, there it is. Now it's gone.
Perfect. Yeah, and we definitely recommend going through each of these pages and playing around with the settings for each page just to see how you like it, and then you can save that as your personal template. So definitely go in there and play around. Okay, another question.
Yes, and one more thing really quickly before we do that, just as long as we're on options, we might as well go here as well.
That's a good page.
So if you're somebody that likes the print version of your presentations, which we'll take a look at print in just a sec, but on your listing overview page, the PDF version of this is going to get, by default, it's going to be set to unlimited. So it's going to have all the photos from the MLS for every single one of your listings. So if you have a presentation, we leave it to unlimited. There are some times that it might be somewhere in the neighborhood of 80, 90 pages long, and we don't want it to be that long. So what we'll do is we'll take that slider from your listing overview page, it's right there in the middle, listing overview. We're going to grab that slider and drag it on down to 12, because that's how many images fit on a single page. 12 images. There it is. So now I'm only going to have 12 images. And now when I save this as a template, it's going to save that setting. So now if I use my templates in the future, I'm not going to have to ever do that again or remember to do that. So we'll have our settings. We can save that as a template. Now let's see if this is done yet. Almost. Although, now that I say that, the listing overview was set to 0 images, so there's not going to be any pictures on that PDF. But
Perfect. And then we did have another question come in, and it was regarding whether or not they can pull listing detail information from the assessor's website.
good question. So what that's referring to is on the subject property page, we have our copy data from MLS. Now, we do get a lot of that question, assessor sites or tax forms or state forms or any of that other stuff where it might have that information. Currently, no. We do pull it from the MLS, and that's it. Now, I say 2 years in the past, but really it's whatever the MLS gives us. So 2 years is a safe assumption, but if your MLS goes back further than that, it could be up to 5 years. So I would come in here, check the MLS numbers, because that is going to be the easiest way to pull in your information. But no, it doesn't pull it from any other sources other than the MLS.
Okay, and then this next one I'll go ahead and take. So the question is, can we tell if a client has viewed a presentation we have sent to them? So you guys will be getting Engage, our CRM system, as well. And so that will be launching later on at the end of summer. And so with that integration, you will be able to see when your clients open the presentation. And so that integration will help you keep track of who's opening the presentations, how often, and we'll give you great ways in order to stay on top of your contacts and make sure you're interacting with them. Okay, so it looks like that is all the questions we have right now. Anything else that you think we should hit on, Tom, before we sign off?
No, I'm excited about Engage. That's such a cool thing because it's your CRM, right? And you can send out marketing content. You can see what they're viewing, who's opening what, and what kind of listings they're looking at. So if somebody's buying or selling, man, you can really curate what they're looking at versus their expectations, so that you can see those listings versus what area are they looking in, what houses do they favorite. So you can see a lot of really cool stuff. Now, the other thing that I will point out is the little pink help button that's in the bottom right hand corner, and that is your help that is connected to our support center. So if you do have any questions, you can always look it up here. So let's say search. I want to look up search. How can I search in different ways? Well, there's a bunch of stuff on search here. So let's say my MLS search. I can actually see that. There's a video in here. And then, of course, the actual articles. You can see how to do that. There's also the little arrow in the top there that'll take you to our support center. So now you can see the full version of this and see all the different products we have. You can also go to Present and see all of the articles. So if you actually want to get in depth and see everything that Present can do, now we did do the overview today, but there's a lot of really cool detail that you can get into here. So if you're somebody that wants to dive in, this would be the place to do it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so this webinar was recorded, and so we'll be sharing it with your team at McColly Real Estate. And so keep an eye out for the recording, and you'll also receive further instructions on how to sign in and where to sign in to your Moxie Present so you can get started.
All right, awesome. Thanks everybody for being here, and we will see you on the next webinar.